Students, family, strangers, newbies, and experienced drivers alike. Today, we're going to talk about writing it down, memorizing steps. It is the biggest pet peeve I have as an instructor. It is the biggest moneymaker as an instructor, because at the end of the day, people who don't memorize these steps, they literally pay and pay and pay for more and more lessons. I have some students that are on their 40th lesson. Most of my students are roughly in the 10 to 15 package lesson, and they're most likely going to need lessons once they have a license, because they're just learning the basics to pass the road test, and then they still don't know how to park on the opposite side of the road or anything. So today's talk is about writing it down. I have taught roughly 12 to 14 years, off and on. I've done it full time. I'm doing it full time now. But the funny part is, even though I've been teaching for such a long time, the people who are paying me large sums of money to repeat steps that have nothing to do, I mean, they have to do with driving, but it has to do with more like memorizing. You know, most people don't realize that a person that's a dancer doesn't need a stage to practice her routine. You know, there are artists, like actors, that don't need to be in a house. Now, don't get me wrong, some parts, if you really don't know anything about lingo, the terminology, you might go to a hospital and maybe sit through a surgery to learn some things. But you're not going to do that every day, and you're not going to pay them a large sum of money for them to repeat this stuff. You're going to make a quick video, you're going to go write it down a couple of times, and then you're going to memorize your role. How do actors remember their entire script? They sit there reading it, they read it out loud, they throw the emphasis in it, they put the energy into where it belongs, and then they memorize it. You know, if you're religious, if you're not religious, I'm pretty sure even if you're not religious, 90% of you know all your prayers for the most part. And if you really think of that process of opening up a Bible or a Quran or a Torah or whatever, and you sit there and read it, say it, and some other people are saying it also, so you hear it, or you hear your own voice. You're reading it, writing it, and if you write it, boom, you know. But if you read it, say it, and hear it, you'll memorize it, right? You write down numbers to remember it. You write down dates to remember it. You write down recipes to remember it. You write down all this stuff, but no one does it for their road test. People turn around and tell me that they need the car. And then I look at the paper, and they have 15 to 40 lessons, hours into it. And they still forget to shift, turn, put on a blinker, or look. Now, if you have trouble parking, which many of you that are my students, you actually know parking's the easiest thing for me to teach. So, what's the hardest thing for me to teach? Blinker. Blinker. Look over your shoulder is the hardest thing for me to teach. Now, don't get me wrong. If you really want to know the most scariest thing I teach, and the hardest, it's regular stop signs. Why? Because they require more patience. But most people are so scared because they don't know nothing. They accelerate when they should be looking and stopping. They memorize, you stopped twice. But to stop twice, they usually stop before they can physically see the street. And then they floor the gas pedal when they don't even know if a car is coming or not. So yeah, you guys got to learn those rules, because it'll make it safer for everybody. And again, if you think you're going to drive the car, right? If you're physically driving a vehicle, how do you learn the rules? Write it in the comments. If you guys could tell me, how do you learn the rules by physically driving a car? If I hit a ball with a stick, how do I learn baseball? If I kick a ball with my feet, am I playing football? Can I play chess? Can I play with the pieces until I learn it? So at the end of the day, you have to imagine that the only way to memorize a routine is either by literally repeating it to yourself. Like you can sit in a chair in your house at a computer, like a computer chair preferably. You sit there, seatbelt, start the car, fix my mirrors, relax, chill, breathe, everything's cool. Inspector says, let's go. I step on the brake, shift, turn the wheel, put on my blinker, check my mirrors, no neighbors, pick up my speed 20. I pull up to the corner. It's a regular stop sign. I'm making a right. So now I got to move forward, watching for pedestrians, stop, turn at the corner, lean in, check for cars, no cars, and then give it gas. Like literally close your eyes and manifest it. Because another funny factor is people get in the car and all they want to do is tell me about their anxiety. What is anxiety? It's fear. You're afraid and you have anxiety because your brain is empty and you have no thoughts that are positive. People get in the car. Why do you guys think when you first start turning and you learn, why do you think you get so close to that car that you're paying attention to? Why do you think? Because you're thinking about it. You're focusing on it. You're looking at it. If I wanted you to hit that car, where would you guys focus and look at? The car. Many people are parking and they have issues because they keep on hitting the curb. Are you staring at it? Are you watching the black part of the street, whether it's dropping under your car or not? Are you staring at the curb so you hit it? You got to think about what you're looking at and where your focus is. And that's why you're having problems. If you're looking at the car door, you're either going to swerve into oncoming traffic, you're either going to swerve into the door, or if you're trained, you're just going to drive straight because you have about 3 feet on both sides anyway. People swerve a lot. Now, there is a world where swerving could exist, but it only exists when your skill set gets to the point where that truck gets into your lane and you do this. And then you go around, you make sure you're not going to kill a bicyclist, avoiding a guy you could possibly sue if he hits you. Now you swerve to hit a bicyclist, God forbid a car or door, and you're going to get sued now. And you're still traumatized. You didn't avoid an accident, you created one. So when you learn that you have these rights in the middle of your lane, you should never ever leave your lane, by the way. But anyway, I'm not going to get too lost into these other examples. Write it down. Just imagine this. If you could sit at a desk and go, my road test, get in the car, sit down and fasten my seatbelt. Be sure to reset. Ask inspector to start the car. Be sure to reset my mirrors because it looks good and it's a good character. Whatever the hell you got to tell yourself, And then I explain to the inspector I'm ready to go. The inspector says, let's go. I step on the brake, turn the wheel towards the street, blinker towards the street, look towards the street, mirror and blah, blah, blah. Release the brake if the car moves. If not, give it a little gap. Like all the detail that you would imagine you need to do before you got in the car. But none of you are doing that. You're literally just staring at videos, trying to feed yourself answers. You don't know a freaking theory. How could you turn around and move this car? Why would you ever look for vehicles before your car is ready? The 1% of students that I experienced that ever wrote it down, even some of them wrote it on a little index card just for their, honestly, I was pissed one day. This student just wrote shift, turn, blinker, look and move. And like some really generic basics. And it's like they're second to last to their road test. And I'm like, all right, this is the best you could do. And she actually took it out of the park. This girl got in, she put on a seatbelt, she did the mirrors, she asked me to start the car. I get emotional when my students listen to me. Yeah, I actually am like, holy crap, I've taught somebody something. But when you guys do it your way and you go home and forget everything, and I got to come back and tell you to put on a blinker, again, we appreciate your money, but use your brains. That's all I gotta say. All right, guys, best wishes. Remember, write it down as much detail as possible. You're doing yourself a favor because you're organizing your thoughts. And then when you get in the car, you're actually going to have a timeline to work with that's already imprinted. So best wishes. If you have any questions, please write it in the comments. I'll see you guys on the road.